I'll be like,
I'll take
go,
like 2%.
yeah, go to the GNC. I'll be like, hey, here, because it's like the thing that's really cool with just seeing what, like, some people want to say, oh, like the social media thing is not real, but it's real. Like it's very real. And like I can do cash if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to do that because
Okay.
it's asking me for an ID, but I don't have an ID.
I'm kind of glad that it's not working though.
It's to me, I think it's more, especially Netflix.
Yeah.
And any kind of social media, Instagram, it's social engineering.
Dang it,
It's
I
not
don't have
social
cash.
media anymore. It's social
my other
engineering.
Right.
It's geared to make you think a certain way.
Shoot.
And when it comes down
Cash
to
is in my wallet. Other wallet.
Social media is I'm gonna settle now. Social. That's the new one, but it's asking for an ID. An ID.
Oh man.
We'll have to do some redneck stuff here.
Hey man, that's where we're at. And what's funny is like, I grew up in Dalton, and it's like, I wrestled like the little kid that was in here earlier. Like when you guys were talking with him, I was glad you told him what you were telling, because it's like what you want necessarily, like, because everything is just like, the competition is so stiff to where like, if you want to get to college or pro or go to the Olympics, like you got to start when you're 6, and like people have been doing that, but now that you can see it on social media, it's like you got to do it now. Like you got to work every day, and there's a good thing that comes from that, like working every single day. But then when you look at it as like, like you work till you like you're not sleeping for days, that's a problem. Especially if you're a wrestler and you're not eating, like anorexia, like eating disorders for young boys. People don't talk about that. It's like, like if something happens to a girl, they're like, oh man, like we love you. I think Bill Burr made a joke about that, and it's like they'll put on like a ribbon or something, but like something happens to a man, they're like, screw you.
No, we're as men in the States, we're told that, you know, emotion is weakness.
Right.
But really, man, some of the guys that I know that are in touch with their emotions and have like conquered them, like, there's a weird period where you're like, you know, you might come off as kind of soft, but once you really like understand yourself, man, like that's true, like that's true, like masculinity, and it's really bad, like you said, to see kids that are like so.
Everything's like a game. It's like, okay, how are you measuring this? And like before, like video games is a good example where like you can have fun with video games, and like people are making money now, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like everything's about making money, having a better life. But it's like, at what point does it go from you're making a better life for yourself, and then you're kind of missing out on the principles like you were talking about, like family matters. Like if you're not spending time with your family when you're there, like
the word balance is something that's not used a lot these days. The thing is that, see, like for me, for an example, I love video games.
Mm-hmm.
I love computers. I've dealt with computers for a long time.
Yeah.
But my thing is like if my girlfriend calls me, if I'm in the middle of playing a video game, my girlfriend calls me and she's like, hey, let's go eat.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I don't care. I don't care to turn that off. Right. Now, one thing is like, I like playing it because it's just something. Now, for me, it's helped me with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
See, like when I worked in law enforcement, I developed PTSD and all kinds of crap. You name it, all kinds of stuff. Now, one thing that came from that is, video games was kind of an outlet for me. Now, jiu-jitsu and fighting and Muay Thai and stuff like that, that's been an outlet for me too. But
are there gyms here in Dalton?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely need to look that up.
Being able to kind of like, I don't know, for me, it just like, I feel like I go into another world. Right. And when I'm doing it, I'm like, absolutely. Like I'm very passionate about it. Like it's something that, it may be nerdy to some people, but my thing is like, nerdy or not, if you're passionate about something, you have to do that.
Yeah.
But my big thing is having balance. When it comes down to it, man, if you're gonna play video games, have a balance. That's the biggest thing is. But these days, children aren't taught balance. Right. Their parents let them stay on it. See, like when I was little, my mom would tell me I'd come home from school and she'd be like, well, first you get your homework done. Yeah. And then secondly, you get to play for an hour. Right. And then after that, no more. Right. But when I grew up, man, I was outside. Like I grew up hunting, fishing, shooting guns and like shooting bows and killing deer and all kinds of stuff. So my thing is I love going outside. I love playing outside.
Right.
It's, these days, man, it's not like that's ready whenever it's finished.
Okay.
Yeah, man, it's all about balance. That's the biggest thing.
I heard somebody say recently, a coach of mine, he was saying that maybe for him, he was saying maybe balance isn't the right word, but it's like the flow, because his thing was that things are never going to be, it's not reading it for some reason. Let me try and swipe it.
We got 2 conference calls at 11:15 and 11:30.
Oh my!
For the manager.
Okay.
The manager thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
but because I think his thing was that he was saying, for some people, balance implies that at some point in your life you're just going to get to where everything's okay. It's like everything's never going to be okay, but it's like you might have like a time where you plateau, a time where you're up, where you're down, and it's like you just have to be willing to ride the waves.
A guy that I watch and listen to a lot, and I read a bunch of his books along with Joe Rogan, is Jocko Willink. I got him onto him. One thing that Jocko always says is, he gets up very early.
Yeah.
But he said one thing is, this dude's an ex-Navy SEAL, he was a commander over Navy SEAL platoon. So, you got to think this dude's resume is already badass. I mean, it's like, somebody comes to you and they're like, yeah, I was on SEAL Team 6 for 25 years, I went and did missions that you didn't even know about, and while you were a baby, I was out, killing bad guys. That's already bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a dude that you don't want to mess with.
Right.
But he said the thing is that doesn't matter. He said what matters is the ability to get up every day and be like, you know what, today might suck.
Yeah.
You might get up and like I got up late this morning. I didn't set my alarm or whatever else, but you know what? I got up. Yeah. I got ready. I'm here.
Right. And
I'm doing what I need to do.
Yeah.
And he said, the problem these days is people think that everything's going to be okay.
Right.
And that, one video, and I think I showed him, in his podcast, he was talking about, he did a podcast on the word good.
Yeah.
So, he basically said, positive.
His ideas really embody like Nietzschean philosophy.
Yeah, I've heard of that a lot.
Like the dark,
from you guys know, like the Jordan Peterson. Yeah. That's where I heard about him, because I just kept listening to Joe, and I was like, I ran across Jordan Peterson's thing, and like I was like, I've just listened to this guy straight for like 9 hours, because I listened to one podcast. I was like, I gotta have more, and he's just got them all out there. And then finally, I grabbed this book and I started listening to the 12 Rules for Life. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it now.
And see, Jordan implements a lot of medicine in what he does. Mm-hmm. Now, he implements a lot of research into it, too, a lot of facts.
Right.
Now, one thing that I like about Jocko is, and Jocko had Jordan on one of his podcasts, Jocko actually talked about, he was like, listen, he said, I'm a Navy SEAL, you're a psychologist.
Yeah, psychologist.
And he was like, that's the only difference between me and you. And Jordan was like, yeah, that's absolutely the only difference. He said, I use facts.
Yeah.
He said, you use experience. Jocko, he gets up at 4:30 in the morning every morning, not because he has to, not because he wants to take a picture and be like, oh, look, I'm at 4:30.
Right.
He gets up at 4:30 every morning, so that way he can attack the day and he can do what he needs to do. That's one thing that I've always liked to do, is like when I get up in the morning, I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to attack the day. I'm going to do it. That's also one thing that helped me through a lot of stuff that I went through, because my thing is like I got really, really bad, and I'm talking like had to get therapy and stuff like that. So,
which, I mean, that's another thing people don't like to talk about. They're like, oh, you're going to go see a shrink, not therapy, but you're going to go see a shrink. It's like your mind is just as important as your body. It's a
whole facade. The whole facade of masculinity is one thing, man. My thing is like my girlfriend, she's going to love me out of the way, whether or not that I say I got to go to therapy or whatever else. Because I'm going to tell you something, dude. I've fought 300-pound men. I've been choked out, hit in the face plenty of times. I mean, I've sat from me to you with murderers and rapists and had to fight with them with crap all over them and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you name it. I've been tased, pepper sprayed. So
that doesn't sound any fun.
I've been through a lot of stuff, man.
Right.
My thing is I'm not scared to sit here and be like, you know what? I had to go through therapy.
Yeah.
I had to sit there in my girlfriend's arms and pretty much cry my eyes out because, I mean, I'll be honest, dude, I was about to kill myself.
Yeah.
So, you know,
That's a scary thought,
I had to sit there and, you know, and I had to tell her those things. So my thing is like, I don't care what the definition of masculinity or being a man is.
Yeah.
It's not being this hard dude, because I'm going to tell you something. I've seen hard dudes come to the gym and feel like they were big men, and they get kicked in the face that one time, and they're like, oh, wait, maybe I'm not.
Right.
Maybe I'm not a real man, you know. Maybe like this 13-year-old that hit me in the head he's probably a more man than I am. So the whole definition of
manhood.
The whole definition of manhood is a different thing. My big definition of manhood is, you know, my father always took care of us. He did whatever he had to. He got laid off after working a job for 20 years, and he did whatever he had to until he got another job.
Right.
And he supported us, and he did a lot of things for me. And my dad has taught me a lot about being a man. And, you know, one thing, man, is that and another thing that I think defines manhood too is how you treat a woman.
Right.
The biggest thing is, I don't like how men these days treat women like pieces of meat.
Right.
My thing is like, if you call my girlfriend a bitch or something like that, I'm gonna clock you in the face.
Right.
Because it's disrespectful.
Certain lines you don't cross.
Exactly. There's a lot of things, man. When it comes down to it, Jocko, Jordan, and Joe Rogan have been a big part of my life, and I love their books. So, you know, in these days, man, that's the kind of stuff that we need. The biggest thing is we need discipline. Yeah. Because everybody lacks discipline these days. I lack it at times, but it's dude. I could go on in hours and hours. I could have a.
I read something this morning that said like, you either face the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
That's a good point.
So like, I don't really like to like believe in discipline. I think it's more of just like habits formed.
Yeah. But I mean,
I think discipline is, but discipline is like a loose term for, I think, habit.
Yeah.
It's just you keep doing something you don't want to do. Eventually, you're going to kind of like, dang, I hate going into work. Dang, I like going into work. Man, I'm going into work. So you just do. There is no like. That's what I was going to say. I like Peterson. I like his like touch on Nietzschean philosophy because it's kind of. And I think Nietzsche, I'm going to go on a limb here and say Nietzsche is kind of like influenced by like, is it Taoism that uses yin and yang?
Probably. I got to study it. Yeah.
There is no bad. There just is. Like you were talking about like riding the wave. There's just no, like there's no good. There's no bad. Like you have good or what's perceived as good. You have bad, which is perceived as bad. But the two can't exist without each other. So there's never going to be like some apex where you're like, oh, I'm a graduate student making $100K a year. I've made it. And you're going to fall back down from that point. So you have to realize that there's. Yeah,
and I've talked to a lot of people like that because I went to school with a lot of those people, and that's what, like, I started doing this at the 1st of October, or at least I started putting it out, and I was just like, okay, well, I got to a point where it was like, oh, like you can get to that spot that you were talking about where you make the money. Yeah. And it's like, oh, is this what it meant to make the money? People talk about like, oh, you got to make six figures. It's like 6 figures. I didn't like, this is like a dumb moment where it's like, you hear it, like I hear it, but I don't put 2 and 2 together. 6 figures is literally 6 physical figure digits on your check. It's like $100,000. That's 6 figures. Yeah. And then it's like, to understand what you give up to get that, because in order to get something you're always going to give up something. Absolutely. And it's like
what he was saying about balance.
Yeah.
Like the lessons that you learn from failing in college are going to be more valuable than what you learn from making straight A's, in my opinion. Yeah. In my opinion, because if you're struggling in school, you're going to start to be like, okay, well, maybe I need to focus on this so that I have a fallback plan. And then when it's all said and done, it's like, you're not a master in one, It's like, you can do both. Yeah. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, I kind of get what you're saying. Give any examples of both, you know, like work. Yeah. For one, you have a work ethic and you have a college degree. Yeah. Or you could have a killer work ethic, no college degree, or you could have a college degree and no work ethic. I know tons of people with college degrees do great in school, but they don't have they don't have that grit. They don't know what it's like to fall down with, and have to get back up like that.
Especially once you go from being in the school system, which really, I mean, it kind of raises you, but I think too many people put too much emphasis on like school, what the teacher is supposed to do, and then it's like that's a part of it. Like, you're supposed to get a partial education, and I mean, the system's set up the way it's set up. Like, people can complain about it, but it's like, if you don't like something, change it. And luckily for us now, we've got social media. Like, you have the plight of Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatnot, but at the same time, it's like, once you kind of get a sense of what you're looking for, you can be like, oh, let me jump on YouTube or watch Joe Rogan, or like put it on the podcast and listen to it while I'm moving, so I'm not just sitting stagnant for 3 hours. It's like, there's a time for everything. And I like what you said about balance. It's like, the reason I think words are important and people really need to look up the words and define them, it's like, here's how it's defined in the dictionary, and somebody had forethought to say, this is how we're going to define it, because this is what we understand it to be right now. But some people, or I guess a lot of people, are kind of caught up in like the glitz and the glamour, and it's like, okay, I'm going to throw up a quote, I'm going to do this. It's like with Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink. So with him, I think I actually saw a video of him for the first time, and I like clipped it and put it up on Instagram because I'm trying to figure out how the business side of it works. And somebody challenged me to say, okay, if you see all these people out here, even the butt models, they're making money.
Yeah.
Like, it might look ridiculous, they might have all the followers, but there's some of them that are emotionally conscious, and they understand what's going on. And then there's the others that are just like, oh, I'm just following the trends. And
that's something that I've given thought to recently. It's like people that know, like, they're kind of the idea behind, like, you're not your survival instincts. Like, you're not that person. You have to be emotionally aware that you're selling vanity, usually to kids and people that don't fully understand what you're doing to them to make money, because that's what we have to do. We have to make money. The world doesn't spin on hugs. But then you have those people that are completely oblivious. They're blessed with a booty. They put it on Instagram and sell it. But the ones that know, the ones that are aware, that gets me. Yeah, that's a new level of.
But I mean, it's like, it's a tricky thing, because even you have something like Facebook where it started out with a noble idea where it's like, okay, I want to connect college students on my campus to other college students. But then it went from that to, by the time I got on it in high school, and like at that time it was just getting out of the college student phase and everybody was getting on it. And I was like, you have to have a Facebook. I was like, I don't have to have it. Like, if I want to talk to you, I'll go talk to you. But then seeing like, okay, you graduate high school and you can kind of catch up with people. Like, the people that I wanted to keep up with, I kept up with by phone. Like, we'd maybe message on Facebook, but like, if something important comes up, it's like, you pick up the phone and you make the phone call. Well, that's like one of those old things maybe, but I think that's what people that are aware, and parents like your own, they like instill that in you, and they show you like, here's what I'm doing. And then if you have like the consciousness to say, oh, okay, like, mom's cleaning up, let me go alongside and help.
For advancements in technology, but there's going to become a time where, your idea of neurotypical, like, normal college kid is going to be having 7 social media platforms, like,
That's what it is now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, there's going to come a point where it's like, whoa, what are we doing, guys?
Right.
Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I mean, that's where it's like, you need that, you need the checks and balances, because you have people in the I guess like the coaching space or the personal development space. There's those that do it right, like an Eric Thomas, that's somebody that I follow, and like everybody that's kind of fallen under him like has the same beliefs and principles, where it's that, like, okay, at first you get the motivation, but then you get like the inspiration, and then it's like, okay, well, I've been giving you this, but I'm giving you this for you to be able to take it back to your tribe, back to your home, and teach them, so that once you elevate them, you start reaching up, and you keep reaching back. Think about
this for this for an example. Going back to the part of masculinity. One thing that my dad taught me from a very young age. He was like, if you have something to say to somebody, say it to their face.
Right.
So my thing is like, let's say for an example, I don't know you,
yeah.
but let's say, you know, we were on a phone call, we worked together, and you had a problem with me, and you started cussing me out or something like that. The thing is that I'd respect you more if you said it to my face.
Right.
If you have a problem,
yeah,
that you say it to my face.
Right.
And the thing is like, I'm not going to sit there and get offended.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, you cussing me or something like that,
right.
I'm going to be like, listen, that's not going to happen.
Right.
And if it's going to continue to happen, then we're going to do something about it.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, if we want to go back to masculinity, one thing that I think is a big factor about being a man is having both the respect for somebody
mm-hmm.
to say things to their face,
right,
and not be a keyboard warrior,
yeah.
and not text and all this other stuff. Like for an example, if I have an issue with somebody, you know, my thing is I'm not going to go and run my mouth about it behind their back.
Right.
I'm not going to text them about it. I'm going to be like, hey, look, we got a problem.
Right.
Because the thing is that I'm not scared to stand in front of somebody because I'm confident in who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know myself. So that's the thing, man, is...
Were you always like that, or did you have to like get some licks a few times before like you built up that confidence?
I think a big thing about what built my confidence was, I lost over 100 pounds. So, and also too, martial arts was a big thing that gave me confidence.
Gotcha.
Now, one thing also too is that by all the stuff that I've been through, martial arts, I had a lot of martial arts built a lot of confidence for me. Mm-hmm. But really, when I started developing more discipline, and especially what I went through as far as when I worked in the sheriff's office, like I said, dude, my thing is I'm not afraid of your average human being.
Right.
I'm not really. There's things that I'm scared of,
mm-hmm.
but everything that I've been through, I don't know, if somebody comes in here and it's an average human being and they want to fight, I don't really care. Like, you want to hit me, like, we're going to throw down.
Right.
I'm going to win too. I'm going to do whatever I have to. I'm going to
right.
pull, I'm going to gouge eyes out. I'm going to break fingers. I'm going to punch. I'm going to do whatever I have to do.
Right.
If I have a knife on me, I'm going to start slicing and stabbing. But that goes back to the whole thing about also going to Jocko too.
Yeah.
Jocko talks about you have to look at, your confidence as being is, you get up and attack the day. He said, for an example, think of your day as your enemy. He said you're on the battleground. He's like, you're leading your men.
Yeah.
So think of your day as your enemy. You've got to find ways in order to attack it,
mm-hmm.
in order to get a leg up on it.
Right.
So he said, for an example, the enemy's flanking you. You have to be able to get a position.
Yeah.
And be like, you know what? I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to do whatever I have to win this fight. Because he put that into perspective. Like for me, for an example, I'd wake up and I was depressed and I was anxious and all this other stuff, and I wanted to end it.
Yeah.
He said, think about this for an example. He was like, if you're having those thoughts, get up every morning, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I am going to attack this day.
Yeah.
I'm going to do whatever I have to. That even goes into the fact of one thing that I like to instill in both, my younger people in my family and also mm-hmm. my family in general is, self-defense.
Right.
You do whatever you have to in order to survive. And my thing is whatever I've got on me. One thing that we got taught at the sheriff's office, man, we got taught how to, like, I always carried a metal pen. I carried a plastic pen and a metal pen. That metal pen didn't have any ink in it.
Right.
It was just in case that I needed it. If my
mm-hmm.
taser ran out, if I fought to the best of my ability, mm-hmm. like I'm taking that metal pen, it's going in the eyeballs.
Right.
It's going in the artery, it's going in the temple, it's going wherever. But that's you have to look at your day like that too.
Yeah.
You have to look at your day as in, like, you wake up in the morning, it's your enemy. It's
mm-hmm.
somebody that wants to hurt you or hurt your family.
Right.
So I'll do whatever I have to in order to survive and protect my family. So if I have to look at my day like that in order to get up and be like, you know what, I'm going to think positively today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do it. I'm going to attack the day.
Yeah.
Then I'll do that. But it also goes to the thing about, like, and I've talked to him a lot about this too, is that these days we're raising victims.
Yeah.
And we're raising children to be victims. I'm going to tell you something, dude. If I have a daughter from the age of 3, mm-hmm. she's going to know how to beat boys up. Yeah. She's going to know how to beat anybody up. And that's the thing that I will instill in my daughter is if somebody tries to hurt you, you hurt them.
Right.
You get on top of them and you hit them in the face. Yeah. You hit them in the throat. You do whatever you have to. We can't raise victims.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing about like, you know, Joe Rogan talked about it for an example. You know, he talked about like a guy asked him one time how
What's up, man?
how he you know, controlled what he could do because like for an example, you know, he's been fighting for a long time and he's very good at it. So he I got distracted.
No, you're good.
He basically
you were talking about self-defense, and then you brought
so
up Joe Rogan.
he basically talks about like the ability to flip that switch on and off.
Right.
So and that's like I said, Joe Rogan and Jocko are two guys that I will 100% tell anybody to watch.
Right.
And like I said, I read a couple of Jocko's books, and the Discipline Equals Freedom book is one of my favorite. But all of Jocko's podcasts, dude, watch him, listen to him, because the guy, I mean, he's not like, you know, I don't know. I think the whole facade of being college educated and all that other stuff, I think
there's value to it, but it's like there's value in the other stuff too, because like my thing is that too many people that are quote unquote college educated just see it like, okay, I'm up the upper class, I'm up here, I'm better than you. But it's like there are people that do it for the purpose of like, okay, I know if I want that, this is kind of like the gateway to get there. And some people get lost because it's like you can have a college degree, but if you work while you're in college, like if you work not just like you can work a service job, you can do that, but if you start to work on the other side and actually work with people that are in your industry, you can be like, oh, okay, this isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And instead of feeling bad, like, oh, I feel stupid or I got played, it's like, hey, you figured out something you didn't like, and you go from there. It's like it's part of life.
You have to do that. Like for an example, one of my big dreams is I've always wanted to get. I've got my IMTP running yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the, it's the old.
Okay. Let me get out of here.
No, you're okay. I just gotta. What's your phone number? That's it.
One of my big things is I've got my EMT. I've always wanted to do my paramedic.
Yeah. That's what's up.
I'm on my third try for Dalton Fire, so hopefully this time goes well. But my like I said, my thing is that's been one of my dreams. So dude, when it comes down to it, I think the biggest thing is we have to realize what matters and what doesn't matter.
Right.
My thing is like I'm not going to. I don't know. I'm not going to sacrifice my morals for anything.
Right. We're ringing up the donations.
Yes, and
Morning.
Yeah. You said a hundo. The donate bill.
$1 bill, yeah.